Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are talking about Terminal World yet again. I cannot help it. Honestly, I was already a little bit excited for this, but even seeing, like, I wasn't specifically excited for the Ice Barrier or Infernoid cards, but just seeing them and knowing that we're up for some legit support, whatever archetypes end up making the cut here, made me so much more excited. Now, today I'm talking about my number one option. If you were to ask me, John, what's the one deck you would want more than anything to end up in those last two slots for Terminal World, I would say ZEFRAS. ZEFRAS are one of my favorite decks of all time. Playing a control pendulum deck, I never thought it even possible, but then when I played ZEFRAS like 2 years ago, I had so much fun with it. I thought the deck was really cool. Obviously, it has its weaknesses, just like any deck, and it's a pendulum deck, so it shares a lot of those same weaknesses, but it also has some strengths that a lot of other pendulum decks don't have. Which is really cool. So today I want to talk about Zephyr specifically. We're going to zoom through what Zephyrs have right now going for them and how I would want Konami to approach support for them. I can't give you a super defined 4 cards I'd want to see, but just some things, some attributes about the deck, and then at least 1 or 2 cards that I think, 1 or 2 types of cards that I think would like really be cool for Zephyrs going forward. But we'll see. So let's get into it. Starting off here, you have to talk about ZEFRAS as the best starter in the deck. It can send any face up or any Zephyr from your deck into the extra deck face up and then copy its scale, so it can be a high or a low scale. Normally you want it to be high because you want to send Zephyr new. If you never summon this guy, he's usually only ever used for that pendulum effect. But maybe there could be some funny support that allows you to get him out way easier. That'd be really funny. Okay, so next up you have Zephyr New. This guy is like the heart and soul of the deck. This is the Subterra Guru kind of the deck. Everything kind of like revolves around him. He gets the engine going. When he's pen summoned or if he's destroyed by battle or card effect, he searches a Zephyr spell or trap or a Yang Zing spell or trap. That's insanely good because it means you're pen summoning him every single turn, and you're also destroying him on your opponent's turn usually. So he searches on your turn, searches on your opponent's turn, searches on your next turn. He's insane, and he's also a really big booty. 2600 defense, and level 6 is a really good level as well. This is one of the best cards in the deck, for sure. So ZEFRAS, cool card, important card for certain instances. When he's pen summoned, he can turn another Yang Zing or Zephyr you control into a tuner. So usually you'd pen him and Zephyr New to make a level 9 synchro play. Which we'll talk about a little more later on. And then for some cool utilities, Zephyr Thuvin gets you a way to pop face-up cards. There's another one that pops face-down. A little bit less important, but nice cards. Usually they're like one-ups for me as of late. And then Zephyr Wendy, some recursion. You know, she lets you add a face-up Zephyr monster in your extra deck back to your hand. Cool. If you get into a grind, a card like this is really nice to be able to continually get big pen summons going. And then you get to the spells. So this is where the deck really makes its money, is the spells and traps are like insanely good. Oracle, this is a searching field spell. It does have some bonus effects as well, but the main one that we're worried about is Synchro. So this card says if you perform a Synchro summon with a Zephyr monster, you can put any monster in your deck, not just Zephyr, any monster on top of the deck. So the goal here is if you make a Synchro monster that draws a card on summon, you can make that monster Chainlink 1, and then this card Chainlink 2. So as Chainlink 2, you put a card on top of the deck, and then he just draws it. So you're essentially just searching any monster in the game. Sometimes it's a hand trap. Sometimes it's a going first tool that's really strong. And sometimes it's an extender. Sometimes it's just another Zephyr monster. Like, really the sky is the limit on this because it gives you so much versatility in deck building, being able to build, add a bunch of stuff. But that's a really cool interaction that happens pretty regularly. Next up, you have Zephyr Providence. This card's insane. Not only does the deck have a searching, like a Rhoda field spell, but it also has a legit Rhoda. Adds any Zephyr card from deck to hand, and then it's Balinx Engrave. This card's actually insane as well. So that's a huge part of this. The fact that the deck already has consistency out the wazoo with 2 different search spells to get the plays started, and one's a field spell. So throw Terraforming into the mix. That's 7 cards that just get you any of the new like monsters that come out. That's very exciting. Next, I've moved to Path. Now, this is one of the things that gives me a little bit of trepidation about this. If Konami makes Zephyr support and it's a little bit too good, it does make me wonder if Zephyr Path becomes a problem, because this card is an insane floodgate. So basically, without going into all the nitty-gritty of the bonus stuff, this is really the meat and potatoes of what this card does. Neither player can special summon monsters except from the hand or extra deck. So no graveyard, no deck, no tokens, no any other way of summoning monsters. It has to be from deck or it has to be from hand or extra. That's an insane floodgate that locks so many modern decks out of the game. I understand that this could be a toxic floodgate in the format. I'm willing to get good support at the cost of Konami maybe banning this deck, or if the deck just has enough weaknesses where like this card is not enough to skew, you know what I mean, the deck enough where we have to ban it or anything, but I'd be okay with Path getting banned at some point because it is really that insane of a floodgate. All right, into the actual interruptions the deck sets up. It normally sets up back row, which is really cool. That's definitely right up my alley. Divine Strike. This is an Omni Negate by banishing a face-up Zephyr from extra deck. 9 Pillars. This is actually a Yang Zing card, but Zephyr searches Yang Zing's spells and traps as well. Whoops, we're skipping. But the cool thing is it negates a card, and then it destroys a Yang Zing you control. So you would negate and then destroy your own Zephyr, so that way he can search a card like maybe Zephyr War. So this is a really cool card. It targets a Zephyr card you control and a card your opponent controls and destroys them both. But if you have 2 Zephyr cards in your pendulum scales, you can actually activate this card from the hand. So even if you search it on the opponent's turn, it now becomes a hand trap Dryden, which is very, very good all the time, and people aren't ready for it. So really, really cool card. And then you have a couple of other things. So I have 2 more extra deck monsters that I think are just worth noting. Zephyrs don't really have any good extra deck monsters. They have Metaltron, but he's just not good. He's just a bad Link 3, straight up. He's been around for, 7 years or whatever. I've never once thought about playing him in the deck because he really just doesn't do enough. But there are 2 synchros that I think are super interesting. There's other cards because of the way this deck plays. It has a bunch of different levels to make use of and stuff like that. It can technically take advantage of like a ton of different synchros and some Exceed stuff and some Link stuff. But I think the 2 ones that I want to just keep in mind, obviously Beyond the Pendulum's another one. I probably should have thrown that in here, but keep that in mind for any Pendulum deck. Denglong, huge. This gives us the potential of having a higher ceiling play by playing some Yang Zing stuff as well. It also means if Yang Zings get chosen as one of the archetypes to get support, that like low key, this deck could potentially benefit from some support there as well. I mean, let's say for example, if like Yang Zings got a normal summon that like it's just tour guide for Yang Zings, like it summons another Yang Zing from deck. That's kind of something because you could just summon one of your Pendulum guys that gets them into the extra deck and you into a Link 2 for like a Beyond the Pendulum search and kind of get, a good portion of your setup going early. Just theorizing here, but that's something cool to keep in mind. And then Denglong, obviously, really insane card because it can search like the counter trap or either of your Yang Zing pendulums. Then it can Foolish Burial any worm to modify its level, which is nice. And then also when this card leaves the field, it summons a Yang Zing from deck. So again, summons one of your 2 Yang Zing guys straight from the deck. So really powerful card, could come up. We'll see. And then Ravenous Crocoddragon. This is the guy I was talking about. So he's not only a 9, which I told you Zephyr and Zefraxy really have good synergy going into together by only needing to Pendulum Summon 2. And then when this card's Synchro Summon, it draws a card. So you would Synchro into this and you would pretty much search any monster in the game using this and Oracle in conjunction. It's very, very good. It's almost assuredly going to be a part of the deck going forward, whether it gets support or not. And I felt like that was worth noting. There's probably other stuff, like I said, but like I didn't want to go too deep into it because we could talk for an hour about that. So there we go. That's really what we have for ZEFRAS at this point in time. There's some other main deck monsters. There's like another Speller Trap here or there, but I don't think they're like too great. I think these are really the key cards to hone in on as far as how it might pertain to new support competitively. But here's what I want, okay? Here's what the deck needs. The deck has really good consistency. You've got 1 good starter card, and you've got 7 cards that search it. This is a deck that can play Prosperity, so that's a bonus. And it has some really powerful setups, whether between its floodgates and its back row, or its 1 floodgate and its back row setups. And the fact that it's a control pendulum deck, it's able to grind really well. Because if your opponent can't handle the scales, and again, Providence is Balinks engraved, so they can't pop your scales, or you'll have a way to protect them at least once. Makes it harder for them to out the scales, and if they clear your board but don't out your scales, you're able to just pen summon every turn and kind of just keep it going resource-wise on that. So that's what makes the deck really cool. Here's what we need, though. The deck is sort of consistent, but you have a bunch of search cards, but not enough good cards to search as far as starters go. You have ZEFRAS, but like 1, if your opponent has uninterruption for ZEFRAS, it kind of kills your play. So the deck needs some other card. Now maybe that's maybe that comes in the form of another scale that just kind of does what ZEFRAS does, like a second ZEFRAS, but it's another hard once per turn. So you could potentially just set them both up, use them both to send 2 different monsters, and then as long as you can put a Link 2 on the field, you can pen summon both out to get everything going from there. That's really cool. I really like that idea. That sounds like a really cool addition to the deck, and it gives us a way to not just lose to somebody waiting for you to summon or for you to activate ZEFRAS in the scale and then negate it or destroy it. That'd be a really nice addition. But my biggest thing too is this. If this deck got something to the effect of Wakaushi, oh my lord, step back, right? This would be so, so crazy. And there's a bunch of different ways they could go about it, but the deck needs a power play. I really would love to see the deck get a 1-card combo. And by 1-card combo, here's all I'm looking for. The ability to make a Link 2 while setting up Scales and Zephyr New in the extra deck. But that's really easy, because if it's a 1-card combo that sets up Scales, it means you're probably just setting up ZEFRAS, and that means ZEFRAS is sending Zephyr New. So those kind of go hand in hand. So it's literally like a normal summon that gets you a second body and gets you Scales. That's actually, it could even be 1 scale, because those 2 bodies go into Beyond the Pendulum. Beyond the Pendulum searches the low scale. Boom. Like it still works. So that's kind of what I'm looking for more than anything. Maybe it's something along the lines of, like, even if it's a normal summon, I would be totally fine if it needs to be normal summon to do this to kind of make it a little more fair. But when it's normal, maybe it's place a ZEFRAS pendulum monster in your pendulum zone. That would be ZEFRAS. ZEFRAS sends Zephyr New, or whatever other one you might want to send. Then maybe this card has some sort of effect to special summon a Zephyr that's face up in the extra deck, out. Then you make your Beyond the Pendulum. Those go back into the extra deck. Beyond the Pendulum searches your low scale, and boom, you pen summon 2 underneath Beyond the Pendulum. It's nothing crazy. It's actually nothing crazy. It'd be a bonus if this monster has a way to become a tuner somehow, or just be a tuner. That way, when you pen summon them back out, not only is Zephyr New getting you a search, but then you're also able to maybe go into a synchro monster that's a decent interruption. That would be really ideal. But it really depends. That would be crazy. Now, Wakaushi is like best case scenario, right? Like a monster that doesn't even need to be normal summoned, but still is like a 1-card play like that. That would be huge. Like that's what we really need, a 1-card combo, because right now we're a 2-card combo, but like we have 7 free searchers. We have 7 Rhodas in the deck. So if we got a 1-card guy, then we immediately have 10 copies of a 1-card combo in our deck. And then the other stuff just helps us play through it. But right now, it's just ZEFRAS. If ZEFRAS gets stopped, but like if ZEFRAS could be a backup plan, it'd be so much better. So I would love to see that, for sure, 100%. Plus, a card like that would allow us to like cut down on a lot of like the extra scales, because it's just consistency and being able to get us the scales we want instead of needing to play 3 ZEFRAS, needing to play multiple Zephyr Thubin for low scales. You just have so many cards that get you low scales, you don't have to max them out on it. So you're just playing more effective slots in your deck. So whether it's a normal summon or whether it's a Wakaushi that doesn't need the normal summon, it really doesn't matter. I will take it, even if they want to put some sort of restriction on it. I was trying to think about that, but not go too in-depth on what kind of restrictions we should have. It could be something like you cannot special summon anything except for Zephyr monsters that turn, except from extra deck. So like your extra deck is open. You can make whatever you want from the extra deck. You just can't special summon anything else. Like from hand, you can't pen summon anything else from hand. You can't use any other engines to just special summon a bunch. You know what I mean? You can't play Adventure Engine or anything like that. It would just be ZEFRAS. I would be okay with that. I think that would be fair enough. But I'm sure there's other ways they could come up with restrictions to be like particularly nerfing that, to keep it more pure Zephyr for the time being. And the last thing that I would like to see probably is a new. Oh my god, I'm blanking so hard. What am I? A brain fart. A new Link. Sorry. Honestly, a Link 2 would be preferred. Listen, it's a pendulum deck. Links are just the best way to go, because if you have a Link 2 that has 2 down arrows, it opens you up for really nice plays, especially if they get an additional like Zephyr card that like puts bodies on the field before Pendulum Summon. It doesn't have to be insane. It doesn't need to be nearly as insane as the Magispector one, but like something, you know, something would be nice. Doesn't have to be crazy. Maybe it's just like sort of an interruption, or like, you know, it doesn't have to be amazing, but just like an okay interruption. Doesn't even get you value, but it's just like a link to that opens up zones, and it's also an additional interruption, and it's a Zephyr monster on the field, so it makes some of those counter traps live for you if they weren't already. That's kind of the basic idea. Yeah, the deck's got a lot of tools. It really does have a lot of cards that are really nice. It just needs a little push to the engine. It's really not that far away. It's one Wakushi type card away, honestly. And if anything else is just a bonus. It could come in different forms. I'm not saying it couldn't come in different forms. They could definitely do this in a bunch of different ways. But that's kind of my general thoughts on Zephyrs right now, and what I would want to see if Konami gave them the 4-card treatment in Terminal World. I'm going to cross my fingers for it. You know, it's Pendulum, so, you know, it seems like Konami never really wants to go too hard on Pendulum, because they do have this inherent fear that Pendulum's just going to come out of here and just take over Yu-Gi-Oh! One day. So they tend to be very, very, you know, reserved on Pendulum stuff. But I've got everything crossed for this one, and I hope it's really good. So, yeah, those are my thoughts there. I might go through and do a handful of other decks from Dual Terminal before they actually give us these reveals. I mean, we're only a month away from the set actually. Or, I'm sorry, we're 2 months away from the set coming out in the OCG. So, you know, in the next couple weeks, we might get the second archetype revealed and what its cards are going to be. Or maybe a cover art for the set, and that might show us the 2 archetypes that aren't known yet. But you know, until then, it's fun to do the discussion videos. I really like doing these. So thank you so much for watching, as always, guys. Let me know in your comment section down below what you think about ZEFRAS, but also, I want to know what deck from Dual Terminal you might want me to throw in here and have a talk about. I'm already thinking about, like, Ritual Beasts a little bit, as well as, you know, like Evil Swarm, maybe even Tellarknights. I know they got a bunch of support at the beginning of the year, but they're not good. So, yeah, maybe give them more. I don't know. Weird stuff, but I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching, as always, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts and what other archetypes you want me to talk about, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.